everybody. Today we're talking with Dr. Alice Fong. She has a couple of businesses. One, she has a naturopathic practice in the Sacramento area, greater San Francisco area, if you will. And then she also has a business where she helps support naturopathic doctors in marketing, specifically, I guess kind of LinkedIn, I guess, is your specialty. So today I just kind of want to talk through LinkedIn. So first question, I guess I'm going to throw at you. Give me a little background on how you came to start caring for other naturopathic doctors.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a good story, actually. So just a little about my background is that I graduated from Best Year in 2012 from the naturopathic program, and I had a practice up in Seattle for 3 years. And then my partner got a job in Maryland, so I ended up moving across the country to Southern Maryland, a very rural town, and started another practice out there. And it actually grew a lot faster out there compared to Seattle because I was literally the only one within an hour radius. So it was still a lot of work to grow that business. And over 3.5, I remember when I started that business, it was very slow going, just getting my feet in the water, where it's just like 1 or 2 patients a month, essentially, is kind of how it began. But then eventually in time, and after 3 or 4 years, I got to the point of having like 5 to 10 a week. But it took a lot of hustle and networking and workshops and referral partnerships and all sorts of things, like traditional ways of growing a business. And then what happened was that relationship didn't work out. So I was like figuring out where do I ultimately want to be, was in California near my family. So I decided to close down shop and move across the country yet again for a third time to start a practice for a third time. And so because I was moving to California, even though I live in the area, in the Bay Area, Sacramento area, I decided to take my practice virtual completely, because I was thinking if I ever have to move again, I never want to have to do this ever again. And so I was attempting to take my practice virtually at the beginning of 2019 when I moved to California, and it was really not panning out. Well, it was just going as slow as it was before, and I forgot how slow it can be to grow a business. And it was just, again, like the same thing, 1 or 2 clients a month, just starting out. It was super slow. I was doing all the things I did before, and it just, on a virtual level, it just didn't seem to be working as well as last time. And so I was very frustrated by the process, and I just didn't want to take 3 or 4 years to get where I was previously. So I decided to invest in a business growth consulting firm and their program. And that's where I learned all these marketing strategies that I never heard of before. And they just blew my mind. And it was like a foolproof system, which was really exciting for me because everything else just seemed kind of haphazard and not consistent or predictable in any sense. So it was nice to have a predictable system that was consistently bringing me leads. And, what they helped me with was switching from selling one-on-one consults, just pay as you go, fee for service model, to high ticket wellness programs, which was really exciting. And, within 1 month, I was able to close on my first client who paid like $3,000 for the program, which was really exciting. I was like, oh my God, that it actually is working. And it wasn't just a fluke. I had closed on another client the week after that, and I closed on another client the week after that. So I was just like, wow, this is actually something that works. This is exciting. And so I was just growing and growing. And then eventually I was thinking about, after a few months, I was like, wow, this would be great for all naturopathic doctors who were dealing with the same struggles as I was. But I was kind of caught up in like growing my own business. And I was thinking starting a second business would just take so much time and effort. And I don't know if I have the time. I mean, it's a great system. And so I ended up working for the company that I learned my program from, and started just to sell their program to colleagues and other people that were wanting to grow their business and scale it. And eventually, I just learned so much. I was talking to so many doctors from that, and I realized everyone was really excited about it, wanting to do it, but they were kind of caught up by the price tag of it. So they were just like stuck by that. So it just kind of got my wheels turning. I didn't think I'd start the second business for like another year or two, but I think with COVID and everyone trying to transition to a virtual practice, I just felt like the need was now. And I knew I had a lot of resources and tools and knowledge that I've gained over not just this past year, definitely the past year has made a difference, but just my cumulative business experience of over a decade, kind of culminating into deciding like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to go for it. And sure enough, I just started doing some free webinars, and then eventually I started selling the program, my 8-week course. And got 10 doctors signed up right away. And I was just like, I guess I'm doing this. So now I'm literally on the tail end of the course, is about to wrap up. We just completed week 6 of 8. So it should be complete. But then, people can obviously continue to do the course. They can watch the recordings, but I'm going to have a live mastermind coaching group so people can continuously get that live support in that sense.
Nice. Again, this is Dr. Alice Fong, and she's one of her business that we're kind of talking about today is Thriving Wellness Practice, which is the business she started to help NDs kind of master their marketing from all the experience and bruises she's received over the time. Last decade. She's kind of like, this works really good. And so nice work. That's awesome. I'm curious about that switch you made when you're selling hours, if you will, to selling a package, kind of like total wellness or total health to your patient. That's a hard thing for NDs to do for some reason. I see it, because they don't really know what to put into their package. They don't, because NDs are just loaded with such a huge skill set. I'm being kind of Captain Obvious here, but how'd you pick through what you wanted to do to create a package and offer that?
Yeah, great question. I think that's the thing is, as naturopathic doctors, we have a bazillion tools in our tool belt. And if you just give all your tools away at that first visit, you're going to just overwhelm the client. They'll be like, I can't even handle this. This is way too much. And so, and I just felt like before I switched to this model, it was just like people would come in for a visit or two for their labs, and then I wouldn't see with them again. And our medicine is really about lifestyle interventions and proactive prevention. And it takes consistent, people know that they need to eat healthier. People know they need to exercise and do all sorts of things, but are they doing that? That's the struggle. Right. And so having that consistent report and accountability in like a program model just gets them to a better result and outcome in their health and well-being. Yeah. So
you have a program. I know you are narrowly niched up, and you have a really narrow ideal client. But again, it's applicable to several professions. But how did you again, this is one of those things that NDs don't do, because when you say niche, the saying is niches, riches in the niches, but NDs don't see it that way. They see it, oh my God, I'm narrowing my focus too much that I don't get to have the bounty of a lot of patients. So how did you do that trust fall into a niche, if you will? And what were the things that, again, knowing what you wanted to practice, knowing who you wanted to serve, how did all that kind of come together?
Yeah, well, it kind of depends on your type of practice. And in Southern Maryland, I could be a generalist because I was the only naturopathic doctor around, so within an hour radius. So it's just like I saw everything and anything. But then when I moved to the Bay Area and I was trying to break out in the Bay Area, I just was not getting any traction. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot, because I did specialize in stress and anxiety in Seattle in my practice there. And I realized I just had to get back into a specialty again, because there's plenty of competition. So how would you stand out among all that noise if you're just kind of look like the average Joe type of doctor? Versus like the position yourself as an expert really helps attract those people to you. Specifically, they want to work with the best rather than a generalist typically for their problem, if it's a big problem for them.
Makes perfect sense to me. Nice. So this is the thing that I think that you really excel at, because and that's LinkedIn.
Yeah,
LinkedIn is, it's an untapped market, I think, for naturopathic doctors, and you have just a really cool system. So first of all, tell us about LinkedIn, why
yeah.
we should be there, and then the next
Hmm.
question after that that would follow suit is, tell us tips for our landing pages. On
Absolutely. Yeah, so I could talk about LinkedIn all the day. And it's funny because before I joined the business growth program that I did, I did have a LinkedIn profile for years. I'm like the original Alice.Fong on LinkedIn because I've had it for years, but I never did anything with it. I barely even like opened it and barely looked at it. And I think that's kind of the mindset that NDs have, is that, well, I barely use it, so most people must barely use it, but that's really not the truth of the matter.
right.
And there's a ton of professionals in it. And why we should use LinkedIn, because there's over 60, or no, there's over 600 million users worldwide, and
Holy crap.
260 million of them are active users. And then 44% of LinkedIn users generally make an income of 75K or higher. So they
Right.
can actually afford our services more likely compared to other channels. I'm not saying don't use Facebook or Instagram or the other channels, but it's just like this untapped market. And yeah, there's a lot of people utilizing LinkedIn to generate business, but I don't really see naturopathic doctors in it. So if a naturopathic doctor were to message people, it would that in itself would have it stand out among all the other noise and messages that people
Right.
typically get. Mm-hmm.
Nice. What are some tips for the landing page that you talked about?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
so you
for
know,
one.
real quick, sorry I cut you off. Uh,
Sure.
Again, Dr. Alice Fong here with us, but she has a class on how to do this for LinkedIn, and I highly recommend it. She gave me a courtesy view of it, and
Mhm.
wow, it goes in depth, and yeah, I think it would easily be worth the money spent. It would reap a lot of rewards for that. But anyways, go ahead on the landing page. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, definitely. I actually just bundled that webinar into the 3 webinars that I did. People can actually buy it right now. I'm doing a special for $97 to
Nice.
get that webinar. So good deal. But yeah, for tips on optimizing your LinkedIn profile, the first thing is to change your title to switch out naturopathic doctor, because you most NDs know that most people have no idea what the naturopathic doctor is. So when they see that, they're like, "What?" Or they have this misunderstanding about it, like this hokey hippie doctor or whatever that might be. So it just, instead of your title, actually change it out to the problem you're solving, because that's what people really care about. Not
Yeah.
necessarily your title, but just like, I help X audience with X problem using X method. So it just fill in the blanks with the value you bring to people. And if they have that problem, then they might actually like want to talk to you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what's a general overview of the system you use to get leads out of um, LinkedIn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a kind of a quick rundown on how the system that I use works is that it actually is an automated process that will send out 100 requests every day on my behalf, which is really, really nice. So basically, in this is an analogy I like to use with naturopathic medicine. When we're treating our patients, we have to be we're engaging them into being proactive about their health. And with naturopathic doctors, it's kind of a passive approach. We're not necessarily proactive about our marketing strategy. We're kind of just waiting for people to call us and waiting for people to like find us on Google and reach out
Right.
to us, or waiting for a referral to send a referral our way. And this is called outbound prospecting, where you're actually reaching out to potential prospects and being proactive about it, like being on the hunt for that potential next client or patient, essentially. So reaching out to people, and they don't even care about your title if they have that problem. and you have a solution for it, they might want to actually hear what it is, because they probably don't want that problem anymore if they're open to that. So the process will send out like 100 requests a day, which ultimately will be like about 1,000 requests going out every week and a half. And you could do this manually. It's just going to take a lot of time. But yeah, 1,000 requests go out every week and a half. That's considered about one campaign. And then typically, depending on who you're targeting, your niche audience, for my target software engineers, I would probably get like a 20 to 30% connect rate. So that's 200 to 300 software engineers coming into my network every week and a half, which is pretty awesome. And then they're getting a message from me saying like, oh, hey, Bob, it's nice to connect and meet you. It's quick intro about me. And it's not a hard sell right off the bat. It's just kind of like you're meeting a stranger, you're introducing yourself and the problem you help people with. And then you just inquiry, oh, is this like, I would say maybe something like, oh, hey, Bob, it's nice to meet you. I see that you're a software engineer in the Bay Area. It's nice to connect. Quick intro about me. My name is Dr. Alice. I help busy professionals break free from stress so they can be more focused, productive, and have a competitive edge at work. Is that something you might need help with? And so, they'll either say yes or no. And most people are going to say no thanks, or I'm not interested. But you can imagine, typically out of the 200 to 300 people that connect, I actually get a pretty good response rate, like around 50% sometimes. So that's like roughly like 100 people responding back, maybe out of that 100 people remaining, because it's like a filtering process, out of the 100 people remaining, probably, 90% of them are going to be like, no, thanks, I'm not interested. But yeah, that leaves 10, 20 people that are like, oh, I do have that problem. I'd be curious to hear what it is. And then you just get those people onto phone calls, and then you go through your sales process.
Nice. And so then you put them in through phone calls, not another webinar or anything like that. You get one-to-one touch then at that point.
It's for this one, I usually get them on a quick discovery call first, because you just want to make that point of contact. Then it makes it real. They're talking to a real life human being. You're not a robot. So having that human interaction, like just a quick 10, 15-minute call. And then like my sales process is, I actually send them my free like value video, which is kind of like a webinar, and essentially that walks them through my process and my program. And then I book them on a longer strategy session call and walk them through after they watch the video. So it's like a 2-call close is kind of the approach. Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's really cool that you have your funnel that dialed in. Mm-hmm. Do you ever change up your wording on your messages, or how long did it take you to kind of get honed in that these are the words that are performing best? And
yeah, that's super important. Definitely, when I was first trying my campaign messaging out, I was still figuring things out. I think I was still too broad. I actually started with like people in tech, not specifically software engineers. So then I narrowed it down a little more, and I think that got me better responses when I'm like super dialed into like who they are versus like, oh, you're just a person in tech. That could encompass a lot more people. And so, and then with the messaging, messaging and marketing is always a refining process. You always want to be looking at the performance, looking at the numbers to see if it's performing better or worse. And then obviously go with the campaigns that are performing better, stick with those messaging, and continue to refine it. And also listen to your discovery calls or your strategy session calls and hear like, what is this niche audience constantly saying to me? If I didn't have so many conversations with software engineers, I started incorporating what I'm hearing on these calls into my messaging. So it just really strikes a nerve with them, because it's like, I get their world completely. Right. Like the issue I kept hearing was their brains like always are running, and they can't turn it off. So they never sleep and they wake up tired. And then this is just vicious cycle in that way. So I just incorporate that into my messaging.
Got it. Mm-hmm. So it gets better as you get clients in that niche. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Right. What else should we know about the good stuff that you do for indies?
Yeah.
In closing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I help them not just with like, it's one thing to get in front of people. That's obviously very important, getting on phone calls, interacting, but closing a high ticket program is an art itself. It's not like you can't just expect someone to buy something that's thousands of dollars after just talking with you for 10 or 15 minutes. There's a process, and I've learned it. So if you feel like you're not able to sell it, and that's one of the things that I'm really committed to helping NDs with, because, you know, sales is not something we learn in school. It's not our strong suit. I've had to do a lot of training outside of school to understand the process. And I'm even in the process of mastering and continuing to expand my experience with selling. And my goal is to eventually be able to sell my program for 10K. Nice. Because it is like, you know, I see coaches charge 5 to 15K for a 6-month program. So I was thinking NDs do like infinitely way more work, in my opinion. Shouldn't we charge just as much? So that's kind of my little soapbox about that. But the problem is that we don't know how to sell. And that's the challenge. So I want to close the gap in that learning of knowledge. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So again, it's thrivingwellnesspractice.com. thrivingwellnesspractice.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then your actual practice is Amor de Soy Wellness. And so that's AMOURDESOI wellness.com.
That's right. Amor de Soy, but
sorry.
French.
I'm not fluent in French.
It's okay. It's French for love of self. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. And then I love it how what you put into place, your system for taking care of your software engineers is AMOUR. So it ties into your name, and I love stuff like that, but I'm kind of a nerd, so.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, is just like developing your own like proprietary system. My system is the Amor system, and it's an acronym for my five-step program, my process. And that's unique to me. I'm like the only person that has that system because I created and developed it. And that makes you like stand out and have a unique solution to a common problem. Mm-hmm.
That's nice. We should have a conversation just about that.
All right, we should.
I mean, your own kind of flavor of how you take care of stuff. It's probably fairly similar to others, but that's important. So again, thanks for your time. I love the fact that you were virtual way before everybody had to become virtual in COVID.
Right.
Gosh, in 2019, that was people wanted to, but they just kind of thought about it. It was on the wish list, and you're out there doing it. You built 3 practices. Holy crap, way to go. That's gotta be tiring.
I've started now. Yeah.
So, again, I appreciate you, and thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Dan. It's been a pleasure.